They said he was gone forever, that Ty Borden's story had ended years ago. But in Season 19, Episode 2, something happened. Something no one expected. A shadow from the past appeared on the Heartland ranch, and for a moment, time stood still. Was it real? Was it a dream? Or was it something even more powerful? A sign that love never truly leaves us. This is the story of a miraculous comeback, a moment that made every Heartland fan hold their breath. In the beginning of Amy's journey to find peace once more, when Ty Borden died. It wasn't just a character leaving the show, it felt like a piece of Heartland itself was gone. Fans remember the quiet sadness that filled the ranch after his death. The way Amy walked through the fields, trying to be strong for her daughter Lindy, for Grandpa Jack, for everyone, but inside, you could see she was still broken. Every horse she touched, every sunrise she watched, carried the weight of his memory. For many viewers, Ty's passing marked the end of an era. He wasn't just Amy's husband. He was her balance, her safe place, the person who helped her believe in second chances. Together, they healed horses, mended hearts, and faced every storm life threw at them. Losing Ty meant Amy had to learn to live all over again, but this time without the person who taught her how to love. As seasons passed, we saw Amy trying to rebuild herself. She found comfort in her daughter, in her work, and in the peace of the land. But no matter how calm she looked, fans knew that her heart still carried scars. Some wounds don't fade, they just learn how to hide better. Then came Season 19. From the very first episode, something felt different. There was a tone, quiet, mysterious, almost like the world was holding its breath. Amy's scenes carried a strange kind of hope, like she was standing at the edge of something new, but didn't know what it was. The colors were warmer, the light softer. You could almost feel change in the air, a sense that something or someone was coming. By the time Episode 2 arrived, the entire Heartland community, both on screen and off, was ready for a miracle. No one dared to say it out loud, but deep down, every fan had the same wish. What if Ty came back? Not necessarily as he was, but maybe as a sign, a dream, or a whisper from the past, something to remind Amy and all of us that love doesn't end with goodbye. That's where Episode 2 begins, not with celebration, but with stillness. A gentle wind, a horse's breath, the sound of hooves on the frozen earth. And then, a moment that would change everything. It began, like any ordinary morning at Heartland, mist crawling over the open fields, horses grazing under the pale light, and Amy standing near the fence, lost in thought. The sky was still, heavy with that strange quiet that comes before something life-changing. She looked toward the horizon, and for a moment, the world seemed to pause. The wind shifted, carrying with it a sound that froze her heart, the soft rhythm of hooves, familiar yet impossible. Amy turned slowly, her breath catching in her chest. Out of the morning fog, a rider appeared. The figure was distant at first, almost part of the mist itself. But as he came closer, every step of the horse felt like a heartbeat returning to life. His posture, his calm, the way he held the reins, it was all too familiar. It couldn't be. It shouldn't be. But there he was, Ty Borden. For a second, Amy couldn't move. Her mind fought what her eyes saw. The years of grief, of acceptance, of learning to live without him, all of it shattered in a single moment. The man she had lost, the love she had mourned, was right in front of her. He looked older, softer, but alive. His eyes carried the same warmth that once calmed her storms. "Amy," he said softly, his voice trembling with both fear and hope. Tears filled Amy's eyes. The world blurred around her. She reached out, unsure if she was dreaming or losing her mind. When her fingers touched his hand, it was warm, real. Not a ghost, not a memory. Reality and miracle blended into one heartbeat. Behind them, the ranch seemed to hold its breath. Jack, standing near the barn, dropped the bucket in his hand. Lou froze on the porch. Even the horses grew still, their ears flicking toward the sound of something they too couldn't understand. The camera of the mind would linger here. The wind moving through the grass, The light turning golden, the echo of the past meeting the present. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, painfully beautiful. Ty smiled faintly, a hint of disbelief in his eyes. "I had to come back," he whispered. "I wasn't done yet." And in that moment, everything Heartland had ever stood for — love, faith, healing, and the bond that time can't break — came rushing back. Amy didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her tears said what her heart couldn't. "Thank you for finding your way home." No one understood how it happened. Was it fate? Was it divine? Or was it just the magic of the Heartland itself? But one thing was certain: the miracle everyone thought was impossible had just become real. And with it, Amy's long journey toward peace had finally begun. That night, Heartland didn't feel like the same place anymore. The air was lighter, yet filled with questions that no one could ask out loud. Amy sat on the porch with a blanket around her shoulders, staring at the stars above the ranch. Every twinkle reminded her of something she thought she had lost: the quiet peace of being whole again. When Ty appeared that morning, something inside her broke open, not from pain, but from release. For years she had carried the weight of grief like a stone in her chest, heavy but familiar. She had learned to smile through it, to find meaning in work, in raising Lindy, in the quiet rhythm of ranch life. But deep down, there was always that hollow space, the part of her heart that whispered his name when the nights got too quiet. Now, with Ty's presence, that silence was filled again. But it wasn't the same as before. There was no rush of passion or overwhelming joy, just calm, deep and endless. Amy realized something profound. Peace doesn't come from forgetting. It comes from forgiving life for taking away what you loved most. Throughout the episode, Amy doesn't speak much. The beauty of her healing lies in the silence between her words, the way she gently strokes a horse's mane, how she pauses before every breath, how her eyes soften when she looks at Ty. It's in those moments the audience feels her transformation. There's a scene where she walks with Ty by the river. The camera focuses on their hands, not holding, but brushing lightly as they walk side by side. He tells her, "You kept going, even when I couldn't." Amy looks at him, eyes shimmering, and replies, "You never really left, Ty. You were here. In everything I touched." That single line captures the soul of Heartland. The belief that love, once born, never truly dies. Later, Amy returns to her barn and finds Spartan, her faithful horse, waiting. She whispers to him, "We found our way, didn't we?" The horse nuzzles her shoulder, as if to agree. That small moment says more than any dialogue could. It's Amy finding her peace. It's not in the miracle itself, but in what it taught her, that healing is not about moving on. It's about moving through. By the end of the episode, the audience can feel it. Amy is no longer haunted by loss. She has finally made peace with the past. And whether Ty's return was real or something her heart created to help her heal, it doesn't matter. What matters is that she found herself again. The music swells softly, acoustic guitar, slow and heartfelt as Amy walks into the sunrise. Her shadow and Ty's merging for a brief second before he fades into the light. It's not an ending. It's a beginning. A quiet promise that love, in all its forms, always finds a way home. The morning after Ty's return, Heartland felt alive in a way it hadn't in years. The ranch, usually so steady and predictable, now pulsed with quiet wonder. The sunrise stretched golden fingers over the fields, and even the horses seemed more restless, as if they too sensed that something extraordinary had happened. Inside the kitchen, silence spoke louder than words. Jack poured his coffee with trembling hands, pretending not to stare at the man sitting across from him, Ty Borden, the grandson he had mourned, the son he'd never stopped missing. For a man like Jack, belief was built on hard work and scars, not on miracles. And yet, here Ty was, breathing the same air, sipping the same coffee. Lou stood by the window, trying to find logic in something that defied it. She whispered, "This can't be real." But the tears in her eyes betrayed her disbelief. "Maybe it doesn't have to make sense," Jack finally said, his voice thick. "Maybe some things just are." That single line set the tone for the episode. a family torn between faith and fear, between holding on and letting go again. Each character processed Ty's return differently. For Lindy, it was simple. She saw her father and ran into his arms without hesitation, laughter spilling from her like sunlight. For her, love didn't need proof. It just was. But for Amy, the miracle came with quiet conflict. She wanted to believe, yet part of her feared the pain of losing him again. Her face carried both joy and doubt, and the audience could feel her fighting between heart and reason. Ty noticed, of course. He always did. "You don't have to understand this," he told her softly. "Just let it be what it is." Meanwhile, around the ranch, small things began to change. The horses grew calmer, as if soothed by some unseen harmony. The fields looked brighter, the air clearer. Even the old windmill, long broken, creaked back to life in the afternoon breeze. It was as if Ty's presence brought with it a wave of healing energy that spread through every corner of Heartland. The moment the episode aired, the world of Heartland fans stopped. Social media went from quiet discussion to an emotional storm within minutes. Viewers who had followed Amy and Ty's love story for more than a decade suddenly found themselves crying, shouting, and questioning reality. Is this real? Did Ty actually come back? Flooded timelines across Twitter, Reddit, and Facebook, clips of Ty's return spread like wildfire. Fans replayed the scene over and over. Some believing it was divine intervention, others convinced it was Amy's dream. But no matter the theory, one truth echoed through every post and comment. Heartland had just delivered its most powerful moment in years. Many longtime fans wrote that they hadn't felt this emotional since Ty's original goodbye. One fan said it felt like watching hope walk through the door. Another wrote, "Even if it's just Amy's imagination. It gave me closure I didn't know I needed." That was the beauty of this comeback. It wasn't about logic. It was about feeling. Heartland had always been about emotions that can't be explained. Episode 2 proved it again. Even critics who had doubted the show's ability to surprise after 19 seasons were silenced. Articles popped up overnight with headlines like "Heartland breaks hearts and heals." Them again, and the return that reignited a legacy. Fans analyzed every frame, the color grading, the way Ty's shadow moved, the subtle cues in Amy's eyes, searching for clues to whether this was truly a miracle or something symbolic. Then came the theories. Some believed Ty's return was spiritual, that his soul had found a way to comfort Amy before she fully healed. Others thought it was the show's way of showing grief as a journey, not a moment. A few even claimed it hinted at a time slip or alternate reality, connecting back to past storylines of dreams and visions that Heartland had touched before. But what united everyone was emotion. The episode sparked something rare, a shared feeling that went beyond storytelling. For many viewers, Ty wasn't just a character. He was a reminder of love, loss, and resilience. Watching him return felt like being given permission to believe in second chances again. Fan-made. Tributes appeared within hours, music videos, edits of Amy and Ty's journey, even artwork capturing their reunion under the rising sun. One fan captioned their post, "This wasn't just Ty coming back. It was every piece of hope we thought we'd lost." Heartland's creators didn't give a clear answer, and maybe that's what made it so powerful. The mystery left room for every viewer to see their own meaning in it. Some saw a miracle, some saw closure, and some simply saw love alive again for a fleeting, perfect moment. Episode 2 reminded the world why Heartland endures after all these years. It's not just about horses, family, or the beauty of Alberta's open fields. It's about faith and love, in healing and in the impossible. And as the credits rolled, fans everywhere whispered the same words Amy once said, "He never really left." When the dust settled and the emotions quieted, fans began asking the question that lingered beneath all the tears and theories. Why did Ty come back? Was it just for shock value? Or was there a deeper message hidden beneath the miracle? Heartland has never been about fantasy. It's always been grounded in real human emotions, love, loss, and the courage to keep going. So when Ty appeared again in Season 19, Episode 2, it wasn't about rewriting the past. It was about rewriting healing. His comeback wasn't meant to erase grief. It was meant to show what happens when grief transforms into peace. Think about Amy's journey, her pain, her strength, her silence. For seasons, she carried loss like a companion, learning to live with it, not against it. Ty's return was the mirror to that growth. He didn't come back to stay. He came back to remind her that she could let go without losing love. That was the heart of the message. Love doesn't end when life does. It simply changes shape. The episode used this idea beautifully through its visuals. The soft light around Ty, the way his footsteps left no marks on the ground, the stillness of nature whenever he appeared. These weren't just artistic choices. They were symbols. Ty represented peace itself, not as a ghost or dream, but as Amy's acceptance made visible. In one scene, Amy whispers, "I've missed you every day," and Ty smiles gently, replying, "You never stopped walking beside me." That exchange captures everything Heartland has ever tried to say, that love doesn't fade into nothingness. It becomes part of who we are, guiding us long after the person is gone. It's not just Amy's story, though. Ty's return touched every part of Heartland: Jack's faith, Lou's understanding, Lindy's innocence. Each of them found something different in that miracle. For Jack, it was hope that family never truly breaks. For Lou, it was learning that not every answer needs to make sense. For Lindy, it was simply love, pure and uncomplicated. The message was universal. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means carrying memories without pain. Ty's comeback wasn't a rewrite. It was a reflection. A way to show that sometimes closure doesn't come from goodbye, but from seeing love one more time and realizing it never really left by the end of the episode. As Ty faded into the horizon and Amy smiled instead of crying, viewers understood the truth. This wasn't a resurrection. It was a release, the final chapter of Amy's grief and the first page of her piece. Heartland reminded us that miracles aren't always about changing what's real. Sometimes they're about seeing the truth that's been there all along, that even in loss, love endures. The sun begins to set over Heartland, painting the sky with gold and rose. The same colors that once filled Amy and Ty's wedding day. The wind moves gently through the trees, and somewhere in the distance, a horse neighs, a soft reminder that life at the ranch goes on. No matter how much it changes, Amy stands in the pasture, her eyes following the horizon where Ty disappeared, but this time, there are no tears. Her face carries a quiet smile, the kind that comes not from joy, but from understanding. She whispers softly, "You're still here?" And her words drift into the wind like a prayer answered. In that moment, Amy isn't mourning. She's remembering differently. She's realizing that Ty never truly left. Not from her heart, not from Heartland, not from the soul of the story. His love lives in every part of this land, in Spartan's steady breath, in Lindy's laughter. In the warmth of the home they built together, the camera would slowly pull back, showing the wide, endless beauty of the ranch, the horses running free, the golden grass bending to the breeze, and Amy standing tall, finally at peace. A gentle guitar melody rises, carrying echoes of the show's earliest themes. The voiceover begins, soft, reflective, and full of the wisdom Heartland has always offered. Sometimes love doesn't end with goodbye. It lingers, quiet and patient, waiting for us to find our way back to it. We may lose the people we love, but the love itself that never fades. It becomes the air we breathe, the strength that guides us, the light that helps us heal. As the narration continues, flashes of memory cross the screen, Ty teaching Amy to ride. Their first kiss, the family dinners, the laughter, the tears, and the countless small moments that made their story unforgettable. Each scene dissolves like a heartbeat, not gone, just folded into forever. The episode closes with Amy walking back toward the house, the sun dipping low behind her. She glances once more at the field, where a faint shimmer of light, almost like Ty's silhouette, glows and then fades into the dusk. The screen softens to black as the final line appears. In Heartland, love doesn't end. It just finds a new way to stay. The music fades. Silence takes over. And for a few seconds, viewers sit still, hearts heavy, eyes wet, but filled with a warmth that only Heartland can create. Because this isn't just a story about loss or miracles. It's a story about faith, in love, in time, in the beauty of moving forward. Ty Borden may have ridden off into the sunset long ago, but his spirit, his love, and his peace will forever live within the heart of Heartland and within every viewer who still believes that some bonds never break.